on this chart, right, what numbers do you want to see, go over, have questions about? If any. Anyone have any questions we want to see or go over? I don't know if this point was on your graph or if I drew it in. It should have been there. It was a closed dot, right? Yeah, I think it's hard to see.
It wasn't an arrow, but it wasn't a dot.
I think I drew it in, but it didn't print well. So it was supposed to be a closed dot, is what it was supposed to be. So then range, we're looking lowest to highest. Lowest would be at -2. And then as we follow the line, it keeps going up and up and up forever and ever. So in our two different notations, in set builder notation, that would be y is greater than or equal to -2. In interval notation, it would start at -2, it's closed, so square bracket, and it goes to infinity. Questions on that? Today's lesson is short. I don't know if we'll finish it before lunch, but it is short. So you should all have this in front of you. And what's nice about today's lesson is if you've been paying attention to your transformations, this should be easy for you. Because we talked about transformations, we were given equations and had to write the transformations. No, that's what we're doing today. We were given transformations and had to write the equations. We were given graphs and had to write the equations using transformations. And now we're given equations and have to write out what the transformations are. So if you know your transformations, then you're going to be good on this.
But it would probably be helpful if you guys have that one paper that we did before the break that talks about the different types of translations.
If you need them as a refresher. Great. So in each of these type of problems, you'll see that it starts at an original parent function, and then it changes. In this one, it doesn't have like absolute value of x or x squared. It's just saying the function in general. Don't let that part confuse you. We're still looking at what changed. So if this was the original, and now it's this, I see that there's now this -2 inside the parentheses, and there's now this -30. That's going to tell me that two transformations happened, and I just have to list out what they are. So the -2 is on the inside, so that means it's a horizontal something. Anyone remember what happens when there's a number on the inside? It's a horizontal shift. And then if this is -2, what direction are we going?
Right.
Right, because it's opposite.
Good.
And then 2. So we've been talking about our transformations in this shorter way of writing it. I'm also going to write it the elongated way of how you may also see it, especially on some of the other objectives. So horizontal shift right 2, or translated horizontally right 2. And running is not the best way. So we talked about translate, how that's the same as shift. So this is just another way to write it. That way if you see that, you're not confused. It means the same thing, it's just written differently. And then we have one more. There's a 3. It's on the outside, so that's something vertical. Anyone remember what that does? The vertical shift. In what direction?
Left.
Left and right or horizontal?
Up, down.
Down.
Up.
There we go.
Yeah.
Down. Negative. So in our shortened words, vertical shift down 3. In the elongated words, translated vertically down 3. And that's it. So as long as we know what the transformations are and are able to write them, then we're good. Do you have any questions on number 1? And then we're going to do number 2. So from this original parent function, the absolute value, what changed? So we can just talk about the numbers or different symbols for now, and then we'll talk about the actual transformations. So from here to this, what's different? What does this one have that this one did not? +2. What else? Something else that this new one has that the first one did not.
Negative.
And the negative and the 1/4 are really 2 separate things, so I'm going to circle them like this to show that they're 2 separate things. So that means we're going to have 3 transformations, so I'll write out 3 different transformations. The negative and the 1/4 are on the outside, so those are going to be vertical things. What would the negative do? Not sure. That would be where the 3 is on the outside, on the back of the outside. So not shift. Okay, so you were both right, but compression for the 1/4, reflection for the negative. So we'll do both. So we can write it as vertical reflection, vertical reflect, or that it reflected over the x-axis. And then Elijah said compression, so it was a vertical compression. I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Vertical compress by 1/4. The other way to say that, or the longer way to say that, is compressed vertically by a scale of 1/4. If you're writing both, that's great. If you're only writing one, that's fine, as long as you know that it can be written both ways and you'll need to be able to recognize both ways. Then we have one more thing. So we did the outside pieces. We have an inside piece. What would that 2 do? Kind of similar to what we did here on the inside, but opposite direction. Horizontal shift left 2. or just like the words we had here, translated horizontally left. What questions do we have on either of these examples so far? We may have time to do one more. We may have to finish it when we come back. So let's do 3. Looking at the original and comparing it to the new function, what new things do you see that the original didn't have? The negative. What else? Plus 8 at the end. Alright, so we have 2 transformations. We have a negative, but it's on the inside. So it's going to be similar to the negative we had before, but it's inside, so it's just the opposite.
So would be turned the inside, is that vertical or horizontal?
Horizontal. And then what does that negative do? Reflect. So then just like the other reflect, that would be the same as a reflection over the y-axis. Anyone know what the last transformation is?
Is that plus 8 on the inside or outside of the parentheses?
Vertical shift.
Vertical shift. What direction?
Up 8.
Up 8. Or translated vertically up 8. And then any others you guys want to see? So number 4. What changed from the original to this new function? What is different? What does this one have that the original did not? Do you see anything different? Do they look the exact same?
Come on, guys, wake up.
-7.
Okay. Anything else?
Is there anything on the outside of the parentheses?
The 2.
So we're going to have 2 transformations. One on the outside, one on the inside. Think about what that means. For the 2, what type of transformation might that be?
Vertical. Shift up
It is vertical. It's not a shift, because the shift would be at the back end. It is a stretch. So the longer version of that would be like the compression. Stretched vertically by a scale of 2.
So if it is a whole number like 2, 5, 7, is that only stretching?
Yes.
Okay.
Vertically.
And if it's a fraction, it's compression?
Yes.
Okay.
Vertically. It gets messy when you're talking about horizontal, so we're not going to talk about that. But yes, vertically, any number that's bigger than 1. So it could be a fraction if it's bigger than 1 and still be a stretch. But if the fraction is less than 1, so like 1/4, 2/3, anything with the numerator smaller than the denominator, that would be a compression. Anything greater would be a stretch. I'll try this again. I've been having so many issues with this. 6, 7, 9, 2, 6, 6. Try again. So what would that -7 do?
Is that inside?
Horizontal shift, right? 7.
Yes.
Or translated horizontally right 7. Are there any others on this page we want to see, do, go over, have questions about? So 6 is very much like the first one we did, where it just has f of x. It's just talking about the function in general. So what changed? What's different between the two? What does the new one have that the first one or the original did not? We have different numbers, or we have numbers that the first one did not. What are those numbers, Emma? Any other? So we're going to have two things of transformations. One's inside, one's outside. Think about what that means. What would the -5 do? What type of transformation would that be? Would that be horizontal or vertical? And then what type of transformations would that be? Shift, reflection, stretch, compression. Look at your other examples where we have plus or minus inside. What type of transformation would this be? And then if it's minus, what direction are we going, left or right? Right. Always opposite. And then 5. Or longer version, translated horizontally, right 5. Okay. And then we have one more thing, the 25. It's on the outside. What would that one do? What would that transformation be?
Vertical shift up.
even though the number is ridiculous, it's up 25, because we wouldn't do that on a graph normally, it still does the same thing. So then, elongated, translated, vertically up. Any others we have questions on, want to see, want to do, go over, anything like that? So you have a few different options. One, you can work on the Khan Academy that's open today, that's due next week, so you can get it out the way, don't have to worry about it. Two, the Khan Academy that's due this week, if you haven't already, the one that's due this week. Three, the Khan Academy from the 31st, if you haven't already done that. Today would be a good time to get that done so it's not hanging over you. That's something you need to do. Or you can do the rest of the problems in this for practice, 5, 7, and 8, as well as on the back. 14 through 20 are also good practice problems. So you could be working through any of that. We are getting near the end of this unit. Next week will be the last lesson, and then we'll be quizzing and testing, so keep that in mind moving forward.
And those quiz dates and test dates are on the board by Zeke. So if you want to take a picture of that, put that somewhere, you will not be surprised when it happens.
So use this time wisely. Let us know if you have any questions. You have this time to work.